So hey guys, I'm Bayan Jaber. I am a fourth generation Palestinian American, and I am a youth media maker at Generation Justice, and I had the pleasure of going to the National Conference on Media Reform in Denver, Colorado on April 5th through 7th, 2013. The highlight of the conference for me was getting to meet a panel of Arab American journalists who are into social activism, and they believe in social justice. They spoke about their upbringings, and they also mentioned how, small it is for to be Arab American and to also be a journalist.
We're raised to believe, think, or pursue certain professions as opposed to others. So we're either doctors or engineers or lawyers. So we tend not to be in the media sector as a whole. But there's been an influx of people of Middle Eastern descent, Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, who at least after 9/11 decided that the way in which we're represented is so negative that something needs to be done about it.
My father wanted me die hard. I'm one of six, second eldest, so I have an older brother. Die hard believed that I should be a congresswoman. He would introduce me when I was 8 years old at parties that this is our future congresswoman. I don't know why he came up with this idea, but what it did do is it served to politicize me, one, which our community was not as politicized as others because, there are different ways of evaluating this, but some believe that since we came after 65, we were coming from these dictatorships and we were really only interested with maybe economic assimilation, so why get involved in the politics? But later we find out there are relationships with politics, media, and economics. And so it politicized me, and it also, for being as outspoken as I am, it really made me feel like my voice needed to be heard.
I was 17 when I really kind of came back to America, because I was born here, but I grew up most of my life abroad. And I have to say that, why is this important? Because I was embarrassed, I was surprised, I was shocked, especially after 9/11, by the complete lack of understanding, but also the lack of willingness. And I think it's then, imperative that Arabs kind of, as Adel said, as May pointed to, take matters into their own hand, whether we were told by our parents that we need to be lawyers or what have you, and just trust that, we're creating a conversation that is either absent or we're helping craft a conversation that needs to be had.
Especially in major media, Arabs are seen as terrorists, or there's so many stereotypes, and there's such a negative light portrayed upon us, and it's inspiring to know that there's actual, Arab American journalists who want to represent, and it inspires me to want to represent myself.
It's fairly typical unfortunately for Arabs and Muslims and Middle Easterners in this country to be spoken for, and they don't speak for themselves. They don't represent themselves, and it's quite a shame. Even historically in cinema productions and most of the films that we know, the Hollywood films that we know, most of the characters that are the Arab characters historically have been played by non-Arabs. So even though the depiction itself is negative, they also don't play the parts. So that's a glowing problem.
I want to teach people how I am. I'm not a terrorist. I'm not those stereotypes that everyone fills my people as, and it's just I want to teach them my heritage, my culture, all the wonderful things of who I am.
I think what we can do is learn from other communities that have been through the same struggle. The African American community, the Latino community in this country, the Jewish American community, Native Americans in this country have been negatively portrayed for generations. So basically, this is a struggle for almost all minorities, and some progress has been made, but there needs to be solidarity across boundaries. I mean, this is not an exclusive, Arab American or Muslim American situation. It is a structural problem. There's an institutional problem with mainstream media in the United States.
This part, Adel is talking about how not only Middle Easterners are portrayed in a negative light, but many other people of color are portrayed in a negative light and have been for generations. So it's important for me to know that not only do I have to represent my people, but I also have to represent all people of color.
We can learn a lot from these parallel struggles, but we also need to participate in these parallel struggles as well. So what I mean by this is not only find out and learn from African American, Latino, and Native American struggles in terms of representation as tied to their political struggle, but also the political struggle in the representation of African Americans and Latinos and Native Americans not over.
I think we sometimes subconsciously fall into patterns of identity or play identity politics with ourselves as a result of wanting to ascribe to a certain thing. And if that continues to translate and permeate into the media and the way that we portray ourselves, the way that we present ourselves, the way we present the stories that we're passionate about, then I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. And so to always remember that we are multifaceted and that we are more than just one thing. We are more than just Muslims. We are more than Arabs. We are, and that's, I think, what we should do.
Challenge negative portrayal whenever we see it, and do it in the same way that you guys are doing. I mean, basically, citizen journalism, youth media, justice-oriented work. Operate from the fringes. You don't need to be, involved in a mainstream organization or have your message broadcast in on a major network. Start small, and if your message resonates, it'll travel fast. So I think, do whatever you can do, just don't sit silent and don't be idle.
It's not just huge media that makes a difference, but it's also small media and the grassroots media that is one of the most powerful. And being a Generation Justice youth media maker, that's very inspiring.
You are a member of a generation that will change the future, and every youthful generation has been told that from time immemorial, from the beginning of history. But there's something quite peculiar about this generation. You have everything at your disposal. Things are changing, and you're the only ones kind of being reared into this change. So take the bull by the horns and lead the way.
You stand for yourself, and your own honest voice will be heard, as long as it's honest, as long as it's true to yourself.
Be true to yourself, all of yourself, and remember that without dignity you have nothing.
I think what changed for me from actually going into this conference with believing, I'm an engineer, I just do this on the sideline, it's kind of that. I'm into robotics, biomedical engineering is my career. And going out, I was like, oh my God, I have a whole nother door open, because I saw how underrepresented, my people are and people of color are. So, and how important it is to be represented. So, it opened the whole door of journalism and social activism, and how I might want to be a journalist and how I'm actually capable to be a journalist.